From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! This is a fun one. This is new. We're expanding our horizons, our borders. I'm in a car. Corey's not in the car, but he's on a cell phone. Probably not going to sound the best, but hey, folks, it's not the best Florida State team you've ever seen on a football field, so we're going to take cues from what we cover. Corey, how are you, friend?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Be safe. Be safe while you're driving and doing this, buddy.
Yeah, I feel bad for you having to always do this, man. So shoes on the other foot now. But I'm good.
Yeah.
Cruise control. It's a smart car. It can detect everything around me, man. Shout out everybody to Corey Clark taking one for the team, going out there on Thursday after putting in a really long Tuesday, covering the basketball team till 2 in the morning, then waking up on Wednesday and covering practice, and then back at it on Thursday. So what did Willie say? I wasn't there for Thursday, man. This is your first Thursday. Aren't they awesome? Aren't they the best? Thursdays are the best.
See, you've got it wrong, buddy. So Ira was out there and filmed it. I just stayed at home and wrote it.
You're terrible.
Man,
you're terrible.
Way to go. He was out anyway with his kids. I figured, all right, if he's out with his kids, he can just film it real quick, put it up, and I'll write about it. So mainly the main topic of conversation was, well, it was a 5-minute interview. Number one is the Notre Dame quarterback apparently not playing, which again, I don't think it's going to matter much in the grand scheme of things of how this game plays out, but it matters a little. I mean, that guy, the Wimbush kid, started the first 3 games. They scored an average of 23 points per game, and that was against Michigan, who's really good, Ball State, and Vanderbilt, who aren't. The most they scored was 24 points in a game, and he completed, I think, like 51% of his passes for 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. Then they start the Book kid, and they average 38 points a game, and that kid's throwing for like 300 yards. He's totaled 19 touchdowns in 6 games. It's just it has been a completely different offense with him. And last year, Wimbush was the main starter, and he completed under 50% of his passes. Now, he did run for 800 yards and 14 touchdowns. So it will be a little different, I think. I think he's obviously more of a running threat. But the passing game, I mean, should take a big step back. I mean, that's a break for Florida State. I don't think it's a big enough break for this game to be even a 1-score game. But man, Ian Book's a good college quarterback. Brandon Wimbush
he's completing like 75% of his passes on the season. That's amazing. Yeah, the kid's got it for sure.
Yeah, and they haven't scored. I don't think they've scored less. The one game against Pitt is the only game they've scored less than like 35 points. So he's much better than Wimbush. I mean, that's just been played out over this season. So Florida State gets a break. And that's good. You know, Willie said that it didn't really matter. The game plan was the game plan, and I get that. I mean, they are different quarterbacks though, so you hope maybe they somehow come up with a spy situation or just realize that okay, this kid doesn't make the best throws, but maybe you don't need to rush him as hard as you would Book because he was looking for any reason to escape and scramble. Anywho, the bigger deal, in my opinion, not the bigger deal for the game, but the bigger deal for people listening to this show is the Florida State quarterback situation.
Before we get there, I just think, I don't want to get too dramatic, but I just imagine Notre Dame's coaches in a dark room watching film, and they see this Florida State team on film. They realize this offensive line can't block all that well, and they're going to be down one of their better guys, Cole Minshew. They look at that defense of Florida State and realize they can't cover anybody, and they know they've got to pretty much win out if they want to go to the college football playoff. And they don't even need to start their number 1 quarterback against Florida State because I think they look at the tape and they realize, we can still win this. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. That's a little insulting. Because listen, Notre Dame's not going to have a conference. I don't know, man. Notre Dame doesn't have a conference championship game, so it's not like they have a get-out-of-jail-free card. They might have one, and it won't be losing to a 4-5 Florida State team. At least that's the way it played out in my head. But over to our quarterback situation.
But I don't think there's any. I mean, if the kid's hurt, he's hurt. I don't think it's like they're saying that if they were playing, I don't know, West Virginia, that he would play this week, but because it's Florida State, he can sit out. I certainly wouldn't think the Notre Dame that you've grown up with, the Notre Dame that I've grown up with, can be so cocksure about a game, no matter what Florida State looks like, that they would just not play their best player because they think they're going to win anyway. I don't think they view it like that. I don't think
they got
most
that Syracuse game. They got that Syracuse game
right,
coming up, buddy.
They're looking ahead to Syracuse. They got to get them healthy for Syracuse. I don't necessarily. I just can't imagine if that's the truth. But also, these are reports. I don't know if they've even been verified yet. If Brian Kelly even talks about that stuff. But if the kid was healthy to play or could play, I definitely think they'd play him. I mean, I just definitely think they would. I don't think. I mean, you can't lose to Florida State. So you wouldn't risk it by playing a much worse quarterback. So anyway, on to Florida State's situation. So Willie was asked about it, and as we all can imagine, he didn't comment on who was going to start or not. He did say that I think somebody asked him. Well, I don't think somebody asked him why did DeAndre Francois say that he was clearly the starter, and he goes, "Well, I don't know. Did you ask him?" And the reporter's like, "Well, actually, no, I wasn't there. I was talking to Blackman." He goes, "Well, yeah, man, I don't know. That's the first I've heard about it." He goes, "But I would want all my quarterbacks to think that way." So that was his response. And then he said, "I want all my quarterbacks to think that way, but we'll know more. We got a practice today and a practice tomorrow, and then we'll know."
He wants all his quarterbacks to tell the media that you, the coach, have told him and let him know that he's the number one quarterback, despite the fact that
he was saying he wants his quarterbacks to all think that they should be the starter. That's what he was saying.
I got you. So what do we think right now? If you had to put money on it, a small sum of money, your burgeoning fortune, Corey, like DeAndre starting, you think?
Well, so then Ira asked him about the red shirting, and is any of this trying to get James Blackman a red shirt? And Willie, he didn't say no. He said, we don't really talk about red shirts. We always try to do what's best for the player and what's best for the program. But he didn't say no, it's definitely not for a red shirt. But again, as we've talked about, if it was for a red shirt, it would just make zero sense that he played a series against Wake Forest when they were already up by 3 touchdowns and he just handed it off. And he played in the Clemson game at all. If you're trying to redshirt him, why put him in when you're down 59-3 in the fourth quarter? Just play your walk-on, run it, punt like you've done the whole game, and get out of there. Maybe this, if it is something to do with a red shirt, it would have to be a new development. Otherwise, it makes zero sense. So, I still don't think that could be it. I certainly don't think Willie is thinking that James Blackman again is the answer in 2021, which is what a red shirt would save him for. So, I don't know, man. I guess I'm thinking that it will be Francois, which, okay, I mean, they're probably going to lose either way. But if he struggles again, which he will, because it's this offensive line and this offense against a really good defense, and they don't do well against good defenses, then, I just think, man, if the last 2 games of the season, unless you're absolutely you're dead set that Blackman has to get a red shirt, I would let him play the last 2 games. Sure, DeAndre, have one more run at it against the best defense on the schedule besides Clemson. And then after that, we'll let James Blackman bring it home. By the way, did you see Florida might have lost their quarterback too?
Which one, Franks or Trask?
What's his name, Trask?
Oh,
apparently
what happened?
He broke his foot in practice doing a trick play, is what his dad said.
That's a bummer.
So he had to be carted off the field. So now it's definitely going to be old Felipe Franks.
Tell you what, man,
anyway,
no one rallies the troops like Dan Mullen around Felipe Franks, I think. So I'm not going to breathe any easier.
That's a wonderful combination, those 2 guys.
Rhetorical question that might end up being an answer or a question you're going to answer. Has any quarterback in Florida State history thrown for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and then been benched the next week?
I want
anywhere.
To say in '93, I know Cannell. I'm almost I'll look it up while we're talking. Charlie Ward got hurt in one of the games in '93, and so he didn't get to play. It was actually the week before Notre Dame. They played Maryland, and Charlie Ward didn't play. Danny Cannell played, and I know Danny Cannell threw for 5 touchdowns. I don't know if he threw for 400 yards, but he threw for 5 touchdowns, and then he did not play the next week. So there might be a precedent.
All right, fair enough. All right, man.
That
Well,
that was Charlie Ward. It wasn't DeAndre Francois.
A little different of resumes, a little different of legacies. By the way, I mentioned this on my Twitter. Nobody bid on it, so I probably shouldn't mention it on the radio show because it was probably a stupid tweet. Like, if there was a Mount Rushmore of reluctant superstar athletes from college, like who are the 3 other guys on there with Charlie Ward?
Reluctant superstar athletes.
Well, they showed him during the Florida State basketball game, and like, he won't even look at the camera. Like, Charlie doesn't want any part of any sort of spotlight or microphone or camera, and it's totally fine. It's not a criticism. It's just it's interesting to me because you have like your Johnny Mantels and your Baker Mayfields that were larger than life. It was all about them sort of thing, and Charlie's the absolute antithesis of that. Like, I wonder who else just was an amazing football player or college athlete that's just totally not even camera shy, but just wants no part of the glitz and the glamour of the superstar.
I mean, I'm sure there's been a few that I even through my time at Florida State. I'm having a hard time really thinking about it right now. Like, I know, John
Ricky Williams.
Yeah, well, that's a good one.
Not Florida State.
He didn't like it. He didn't like it much at all. But who else was Barry Sanders? Like, Barry Sanders.
Yeah, there you go.
Really didn't like it at all. And I remember watching when he won the Heisman. Weirdly, they were playing in Japan, so he was on TV. Like, he was in a studio watching it on TV, and they had his face on TV. And when he won, I think he cracked a smile for like the first time all season. And he even told the announcer that was talking to him at the time, maybe it was Jim Nance. He's like, "Oh, Barry, I saw you smiled there. That was nice to see." And he goes, "Well, I was smiling because my offensive linemen were in the other room and they were going crazy. That was the only reason I smiled." Like, it basically saying, this doesn't matter to me. It's just about them. And I truly believe that guy was wired like that. So Barry Sanders is one that I put up there like that too.
Yeah, I think there was something about him and his father wrote him, about as hard as you would imagine a father would be on top of a son that ended up being that good at sports. I think his dad wanted him to go to Oklahoma, or his dad was a big time Oklahoma fan growing up, and then Barry goes to Oklahoma State, and that caused all sorts of stuff. But this isn't Wake Up Cowboys or Wake Up Sooners. It's Wake Up Ward game.
You right, dog. You right.
All right, man. Let's go to the phones. Let's try to make this fairly snappy, just because I'm in a car and I got to get to an airport. I don't know how much longer my signal's going to last because I'm getting close to Gainesville, and we know how terrible the infrastructure is there. Let's go to the first question.
Hey, guys. This is True Tar Heel Raider, calling from the Tar Heel State, as you guys correctly Wikipedia'd. By the way, Wikipedia is not the best place to get your sources from. They are known to be wrong a lot. But anyway, saw the game Saturday. Saw our game Saturday. I think I'm just going to go to basketball and hope for the best for both teams because I can't do any more of this, man. Thoughts?
Yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate it, Tar Heel Raider. The good thoughts for the basketball program are much obliged. I still can't fully – I mean, I'm supportive of the basketball team. I think it's a cool thing that they're doing well. Why not? All high tide lifts all ships and that kind of good stuff. But, boy, I'd sure like to see our football team do well. But the basketball team, I think, might be able to soothe the cold winter that it will be for the Florida State faithful.
As we've noted repeatedly here in the last few weeks and months, this is now officially a basketball school. So we're going to be turning our attention to basketball soon. In fact, as we all know, Florida State has a big game against Tulane coming up on Sunday night. So everybody needs to, concentrate on that. Not really even worry so much about what happens Saturday night. The big game is Sunday night. Plus the soccer team starts the NCAA tournament on Friday, I believe. So the soccer / softball / basketball school.
Yeah. Athlete school. We're an athlete school is what people say.
You right.
All right. Yeah. All right. Next question.
Hey guys, Dirk from Claremont. Wake up. Two things. Corey, actually Willie's right and Corey is right. It's we've got to learn how to win again, and losing is just too acceptable now. The second thing is, can we please stop the DBs and the cornerbacks? We're losing by 30 points, and they knock down a ball and they do that no-fly zone kind of a hand gesture, the game is already out of reach, and they're making that like, don't come around here. No-fly zone hand gestures. Can we stop that? Anyway, love the show. Talk to you.
The play from the Stanford Samuels pass interference call where he was I was actually, when I was watching it live and how he reacted to it, I was like, dude, come on, man, because he went up to the guy, talked trash, he did the incomplete signal, he pointed to the ground, he did it again, like he was a lot of histrionics there for a guy that had been called for a pass interference. It was like I thought maybe he didn't even see the flag, and but no, I think he had seen the flag but realized he played perfectly. And continued to talk to that wide receiver and continued to talk to him the rest of the game. Like I remember the receiver, he and the receiver having a conversation, I think before NC State's last field goal, where he was still talking to him, walking with him past the line of scrimmage, and then the wide receiver turned around and pointed at the scoreboard, and then Stanford pointed at something else. But again, I don't mind that, man. And the reason I don't mind that is because at least he's taken some personal pride in something. Like, that guy beat him for a touchdown early in the game, and then he didn't do much else. And he got bailed out by a ridiculous pass interference call. And at least Stanford Samuels is one guy on that field, and I'm not saying he's the only one, but he was one guy on that field on Saturday that had some personal pride in himself, no matter what the score is. Now, you don't want guys – I get maybe not wearing a backpack when you're down 59-3, and I get not high-stepping into an end zone when you're down 30. Not that anybody did that for Florida State, but, you know, the DJ Matthews touchdown was pretty subdued with good reason. But, yeah, I mean, I get it. When you're down 40 and you make one nice play, maybe don't go crazy celebrating. But, you know, you also want him to be into the game still. So it's a fine line. I think Willie would rather him act like that, like get excited about making a good play down 40, than just not be excited at all to be out there.
Well, this also goes back to one of Willie's big things when he took over was the fact that he would watch his team play on tape, right? They weren't having fun. You know, they wouldn't celebrate. They weren't playing for each other. So, you know, this is something they advocate. Obviously, he's not advocating go out there and puff your chest up when we're down, 40, but it's probably tough to, always, be on the level with it. Like, realize the situation around you and don't boast and that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if they just, went out there and made big plays and just, trot off the field like they've been there before. But you know what, folks? They really haven't been there before because they need to learn how to win. So how does that all happen, Corey? Is that like a chicken or egg thing? It's like flying a kite. You can't just throw the kite in the air. You need a little bit of wind so you can fly the kite. Don't you need a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, this team has won. They've won some games. It's not like we're not Kansas State back in the 70s. This isn't Prairie View A&M back in the 80s. This whole learning to win thing is a weird sort of esoteric concept that I get it, but I don't get it at the same time.
Yeah, but you get it. You've played sports. So much of it is confidence. So much of it is we've been here before. That team in 2014 did not play well really all season. They knew how to play moments well, and they knew in the fourth quarter they were going to win. I think that I don't think that's just stuff we roll our eyes at. I think that matters. And this team, when it gets down, it needs to learn not to get blown out, and then learn to play close, and then learn to win close, and then learn to start blowing out teams. Like that's the step. And I think Jimbo even said as much when he took over Florida State. It was something that Bobby Bowden told him. It's like first you got to learn how to win. First, you got to learn how to compete. Then you got to learn how to win close games, and then you learn how to win by a lot. And those are steps that programs take. Right now, this team's not. When they lose, they don't really even play close games. So they've got to learn to quit getting blown out. That's the number one priority. And then they won the Louisville game. I guess was a close game. Sanford. Hey, by the way, Sanford 4-game winning streak. And how about this, Aslan? Northern Illinois is 7-3.
Woo!
That's Willie's marquee win. Little win over. They're going to win they might win the MAC. They're going to be in the MAC championship game. It might be a 9-win team. So that ends up being Willie's maybe only quality win of the season. So anyway, yeah, I think there's something to it, but it is a chicken and egg thing. Like you can't believe you're going to win games until you actually start winning games. Well, can you win if you don't believe? You know what I mean? I guess it is kind of circular. But whatever, this team needs to figure it out. Quit losing by 100.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, next question.
Athman or Alicious. Hey, it's Jay in West Palm. Yeah, you know, guys, it's a rough season when you rather hear about Athman's love life than the FSU game, but here's where we are. Hey, my question to you all is, you both talked about at some point, Kelly Bryant and Jalen Hurts being able to play somewhere else next year. And I was wondering, are there offensive linemen out there in like a similar situation that could come to FSU and help out, especially in the next couple of years? I haven't heard anybody talk about that, and I'm sure there's guys out there, but I was wondering if you guys think that's a possibility, and is there any rumblings out there of maybe some guys that just aren't playing some other places that are decent football players might be able to come to FSU and help out our line?
Thank you, Jay. My love life's not all that interesting, so no need to really talk about it. Going better, though, than Florida State's football season, but what isn't at this point?
Right on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right on.
We'll talk to Michael Langston, I guess. Maybe next week, get him on the program. I know we'll definitely have him before the Gator game to talk about how recruiting's going. He's been letting a whole bunch of information out on the premium recruiting board. Check it out over on warchant.com. Use the promo code warchant30 for 30 days of access. It's a thing. Grad transfer offensive linemen are a thing. I remember there was a kid from Rice a few years ago that I think was a hot commodity, and Texas was in on him. I don't know where he ended up going, but Bruce Feldman was tweeting about him and saying he was a really good sort of prospect. But I would assume, this offensive line, I think we all realize what it is, and this coaching staff knows what it is. So I would assume that they're not going to leave any stone unturned. And if it means a grad transfer offensive lineman, why not? I mean, just for 1 year to patch some holes, I think there's nothing wrong with that, because this can't sustain, obviously, this losing.
Yeah, they'll do anything they can, and that goes with quarterback, too. I guess the reason we don't talk about grad O-linemen is because we don't know who they are. Like, Jalen Hurts is a very public figure. We know what would be the point of him staying behind Tua for another year. We all assume, maybe it's the wrong assumption, but we all assume he's going to be looking to play somewhere else next year. With offensive linemen, they're not nearly as written about or talked about or publicized. So we don't know who's out there that might be willing to make a move. But whoever does, they have to know that, man, there is a real chance they could start at Florida State University.
Good marketing. All right, next question.
Hey, guys, this is Jude from Orlando. I was just calling with a question and a comment. My question is, I know you guys talked to the coach and the coordinators, but I'm curious as to what Coach Odell Higgins' thoughts on the season and what's going on, especially since he's been through the two administrations. So I'm just curious on his thoughts on what he thinks the direction of the program is. And my comment is, I'm listening to you guys, and I keep hearing you guys say that, Willie Taggart's got to show some results by year 3. And I'm rooting for him. Don't get me wrong. I am rooting for him. But with 3 games to go, it's not looking like they're going to win one. And if he was to start off the season, hypothetically, start out next season 0-5 with 2 losses like the Clemson loss, I just couldn't see a scenario where he'd get to coach a 6th game. And I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
Jude, don't know exactly what Odell's thinking. We haven't spoke to Odell since media day. We only get coordinators. He's still out there totally engaged during Knoll drill. During the practices, he's still pushing his guys, telling them to get low, telling them to bend their knees, things of that nature. Odell doesn't seem to be any less of a happy warrior than he's always been in his career at Florida State. As for Willie, it's going to be a 3-year thing. I think Corey's mentioned it before in the past. I advocate this sort of. I don't want a rough transition here with Willie. I don't want to be in this reality, but it is. I don't want to get into the business of churning coaches every 2 or 3 years like Tennessee and digging even a further hole. So even if they start 0-5 next year, and I don't even know how the schedule lays out. I still, it's hard to imagine they're not going to be somewhat better, or at least as mediocre as they are right now. And I think that's enough to get him to a year 3. He's going to get 3 full years. I just don't see that Florida State either has the financial flexibility or the, mental fortitude to constantly churn through coaches.
Yeah, and again, it's not fair. That's not how you run things. I get that if he goes 0-5, people will be like, well, we're done. I'm not watching this. I'm not coming to games. And that's a real possibility. What you have to battle more than anger is apathy. And I just feel like no matter how this season ends, it's going to be an apathetic fan base moving to 2019. There is not a lot of hope because of how this plays out. Again, they're not losing 40-38, and they're not flying up and down the field. There's not a lot of excitement with this football program right now, and that's what you have to fight. But apathy, anger, whatever emotion you have, logic is what rules the day. And Aslan's right. You just can't play. You can't pay that kind of money if they can't afford it. Or again, through a year and a half, is that warranted? Now, if he 5-7 next year and it's out year 3 0-5, well, yeah, that might be a mid-season. We're done here because obviously nothing's gotten better. I don't think that's fair or that would happen. But by year 3, if they're still slopping and struggling and doing all this stuff and can't win, and they're 1-6 or 2-5 or 0-5, yeah, man, he might be axed in the middle of the season like Florida does every few years.
Yeah. All right, next question.
I was just wondering, I guess once the Gulf Coast offense started working, he decided that was his offense. And I was just wondering, do you think there's a chance that he would ever go back to a pro-style offense, like maybe in the off season, and not go completely back to a pro-style offense because I know that's kind of ridiculous, but just like include pro-style elements in his offense, like I formations.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe Walt Bell doesn't do that. Like Walt Bell's whole life as a play caller and an offensive coordinator has been this offense. And so you would have an offensive coordinator with like Willie Taggart has some experience with it, but Walt Bell doesn't. That said, I think you should always be looking for a few tweaks here and there. But you do what you do. And I always thought one of the problems with Jimbo's offense, unless he had a super duper star quarterback, was too much. They did too much. They did shotgun. They did 4 wides. They did, I formation. They did all this they did so much stuff that they weren't really good at any of it. I think Willie wants to be great at one thing, and that's this offense. And he has been pretty darn good in this offense in the past. Just obviously this year has been an utter disaster that melted our eyeballs. So I don't know that he's willing to do that, but one thing I would like to see, gosh darn it, is you can install for 10 minutes a day a short yardage package where you get under center and QB sneak it. So on 4th and an inch, you're not taking the snap from the shotgun. I've seen other teams that take all their snaps from the shotgun, still in those moments will get up under center and do a QB sneak. It's not that hard to do, and when you have an offensive line that can't get a push, it is just dumb to be, when you need a foot, to hand the ball 6 yards deep in the backfield on a slow developing replay. It's just that's not smart football. So install that.
I'd hope so, but I don't know. I think, like you said, Corey, you want to do something, you want to have an identity, and you want to do it. And whether it was Art Briles or Gus Malzahn or Hugh Freeze, the guys that run this stuff, I mean, they're exclusively in shotgun. But then again, their roots are being high school football coaches. Willie's roots aren't high school football. It's the Harbaugh tree. He had an intern Sundays, but I mean, what team does line up shotgun and run, inside power zone stuff with tempo and then go into I formation? It's like a herky-jerky sort of thing. It'd be nice. I mean, I'd be all for a hybrid of that sort, but I think that's unlikely. But again, I agree with you. You need a quarterback under center package, not taking shotgun snaps all the darn time. You need something to be able to move the ball in a hurry when it's only a yard or less, so you're not doing things like you did against NC State and you're getting tackled 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage while you're doing the mesh point. So we'll see. They'll have plenty of time I guess to install this stuff. They won't have the practices, but they'll have plenty of time to think about it. It looks like if they can't get 2 more wins.
I'd also say real quick, he hasn't installed this offense yet. Like, this offense is a train wreck right now. So you'd hate for him to stop what he's doing here and then maybe pivot and go to another offense that they'd have to, you know what I mean? Like, he needs to get this one squared away and perfected or even, I don't know, run at a semi-competent level before you think about bringing in any other offenses.
All right, that was Dee from Pensacola. Thanks for the call. We got two more questions. Let's plow through them, and then we got a little quick over under, and then we'll have Travis Johnson talk about Notre Dame in 2003. Let's go.
Hey guys, it's Kyle from California. Hey Corey, I just want to let you know you're spot on about the penalties segment that you did on your podcast. Hey, to that note, I wanted to see, have you guys been able to ask Willie? Is he doing like what Jimbo used to do and submit plays that we got penalties on and asking the ACC for an explanation? I just wanted to see if this staff is doing what Jimbo did. I'm pretty confident the penalties a lot have to do with Jimbo and how he used to call out the officials. I'm sure that left a sour taste in their mouths. And Corey, you were spot on.
Hey, well, Kyle, man, I like you too, buddy. And you are obviously one of the smarter listeners we have. I mean, I think that goes without saying. Aslan, you would agree with that.
Yep.
I would say with the refs, no, man, because it was long before Jimbo got here that they were getting screwed is too harsh a word, but they were always dead last in the conference in penalties, and that was well before Jimbo got here. I think that's still, again, just part of the we talked about culture. I think that's just a part of the ACC officiating culture is that Florida State's going to get flagged a lot. And NC State won't. That's just how it is, man. That said, again, that doesn't excuse 31 in 2 weeks, although a few of them are questionable. A lot of them are just pre-snap nonsense and just, dumb personal fouls after a play is over. That's the stuff that's nobody's fault but these players and Willie's. And, Jimbo's teams were penalized a lot too. So I know people want Willie to be harder on the refs, but that didn't help Jimbo out. So I think maybe Florida State fans would like Willie, especially on a couple of the pass interferences and also not buzzing down for, what should have been touchdowns. They'd like him to show a little maybe more fire and passion. But, I know that works. I don't know. The optics of it are great. It never helped Jimbo at all. I mean, Jimbo would lose his mind on the sidelines at least twice a year. It never helped, ever. So I don't know that it would here. They've got to get more disciplined. I mean, you can still play at the razor's edge and maybe finish 74th in the nation of penalties. 128th is an embarrassment. And most of them have been well-earned penalties.
Maybe him also delegating the play calling duties, maybe that allows him to politic a little bit more with the referees and he can be a little more diplomatic about it. I mean, when he's on, and we've saw it so many times when it was special team stuff where like Alonzo Hampton's out there telling the referees they were going to decline the penalty and that kind of stuff. So maybe with him delegating things more out to Walt for, play calling, he can focus on, looking at these penalties and going to the refs and talking to them in a calm fashion. Otherwise, man, I mean, if a penalty happens when Florida State has the ball, he can't step away from play calling and talk to a referee. And when you're on defense, you're looking at what happened in the previous drive and what you need to do moving forward. So maybe some of him, taking stuff off of his plate will allow him to. Because he's a nice guy, folks. You talk to Willie, he's nice, and he looks to be pretty calm when he's talking to these referees. So maybe they'll finally. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, right? That's what somebody said somewhere, sometime, right, Corey?
Somebody did say that. Who's catching flies? What are you going to do with them? Like what is that? I guess for bees. Like humans don't want to catch flies because flies kind of suck. So hopefully none of our listeners are out there. I know Kyle in California isn't because he's a smart person. You're not out there wasting your days trying to catch flies. Because that's preposterous. Go live your life, man. There's so much more to do on this earth than catch flies.
Yeah, definitely. All right, last question. Let's go to Bishop from Virginia.
Wake up, Quinn Aslan. Wake up. Man, love the show. I'm going to be brief. The Francois situation. I truly feel that separated the locker room with him getting the job. And the reason I say that is because of the things he did prior. And I think Willie is trying to, I don't want to say save this kid, but trying to give him the benefit of the doubt which I can understand. But at the end of the day, when you look at the product on the field, that's what you need to go by. And I think he has to make some tough decisions. And it makes no sense to, like, not let black men play if that's going to be your future, as well as the defense, like getting them younger guys in on defense, the defensive ends, Gainer at linebacker and Rice at linebacker. Like, I really don't get that.
Yeah, I think I've probably made my thoughts on the quarterback position. They seem to align with your thoughts there, Bishop. So, yeah, I mean, I think James Blackman, again, I appreciate preserving a red shirt for him, but ultimately, is he going to be still here in 2021? If he's as good as he thinks he is, his family thinks he is, and he should be able to spin, you know, some footballs in the NFL on a Sunday, I would think. He's got to put a little more mass on him, but I just don't know what's the point of sticking around until 2021. But if they think that's what's best for him and his family, then go ahead and let him do it. And defensively, yeah, man, you want to talk about the concept of, you know, why not try it? What's there to lose? Not being maybe the most sound philosophy. I can agree with that, but linebacking position right now, throw him out there. I guess it has to be a health thing, especially with Amari Gainer. I know he broke his foot right before the season started. Emmett Rice, we don't know exactly what has been ailing him. I think it was either an ankle or a knee during the off season. You would hope that by week 11, at least he's in game shape. At least he's ready to go. I definitely would like to see those guys incorporated more with the linebacker position for sure, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, I would. That's the one guy I would like to see out there, maybe more than anybody else, is Amari Gainer. And you've got 3 games left, so theoretically you could still play all 3 and not burn a red shirt. But you have to get drastically better at that position for going forward. And again, I don't think it helps you win probably much this year because he's a freshman. He hasn't played. But going into next year, if he can have at least a good number of reps under his belt and can be a real player, we don't know. You go out and see if he can do it, and then you go into 2019 maybe a little more, content with what you have at that position. Because, yeah, you don't really have much to lose, especially in this one. You're losing the game. I'm sorry, folks. You're losing the game. They could start Lou Holtz at quarterback. You're not going to be able to move the ball enough to lose the game, to win the game. I'm sorry. So you have about a 4% chance of winning this thing. So let it all out, man. Play some young folks on that stage, in that environment. See what happens. Can it be any worse than 59-10? No. Can it be any more embarrassing than being down 5 touchdowns to NC State? No. So let it loose. Play the young guys. See what Amari Gainer's got. And if he's still eligible for a red shirt, then great. He's a red shirt freshman next year. They got valuable time against Notre Dame on national TV. I think that's a big deal, man, moving forward.
All right, let's go hurry up. Up-tempo, no huddle on the over-unders, Corey. I'm going to be looking down at my phone, so trying not to kill myself here. The first one is going to be over-under push. You can always do this. 28.5 degrees at kickoff. Over-under. Can't do a push, obviously. I'm going to say
kickoff.
over.
I'm going to say over, too. I was going to say 30.
Okay. Next one is Florida State yards per carry 2.1. I'll say under. Yeah. Third one, Florida State quarterback being sacked 3.5 times. I'm going to say over.
Over?
Yeah. Was that you agreeing, or was that you questioning me saying over?
No, that was me saying over emphatically.
All right. Start us off on the next one. Total penalties 12.
For total penalties for both teams or for Florida State?
No, for Florida State. For Florida State.
Under. I think they're going to get it together this week. I think they're going to come out more disciplined, more focused, and only have 11 penalties.
I like the way you think. I'm going to say over just because the game's going to drag out and, maybe, I don't know. That made no sense. I'm going to say over, though. It's raining now. Degree of difficulty driving and recording a podcast has now gone up to an 11. A number of times Florida State starts inside their 25 after a kickoff 2.5 times. I'm going to say over.
I'm going to say under because I think there's been enough talk about it that they're going to start fair catching it.
All right, and 53 points scored. That's the official line, Corey. Over, under 53 points.
Under.
It's going to be cold. Quarterback from there. Yeah, I'll say under 2, I guess, just because the quarterback situation.
If Ian Book was playing, I would probably go over, but that kid's just not very good. I think Florida State at least play hard, and I think you're looking at like a 33-10, something like that.
All right. It's blinding rain. I would like to live and enjoy this game, or at least enjoy Chicago, maybe not the game so much. So thanks, everybody who called. Tar Heel Raider, Dirk from Claremont, Jay from West Palm, Jude from Orlando, D from Pensacola, Kyle from Cali. Thanks, everybody, for calling. Now, a special treat for you guys. We're going to have Travis Johnson relive the 2003 game in Notre Dame. But before that, real quick, Corey, just give us some sort of wisdom and just the way we should carry ourselves as now it's getting darker earlier in the day and the sun's not up as long. What should we do to maintain a sunny disposition in life?
Well, number one, you don't people and friends on the phone when they're driving through rain on 75. So I'm going to make this short. Love each other, and more important, love us, because we deserve it. We have had a great season, even though your football team is not very good. The guys that do the daily podcast are about as good as it gets. And I'm tired of you guys not noticing it. So I need you guys to send us as much love as possible all the time. Tell us how great we are, whether it's on the Tribal Council, Twitter, email, calls. Just do it. We need it. We need it. We need it to get through these final 3 weeks. So do it, please. I love you. Aslan, you know I love you like a father. So just keep it up. Drive safe. Godspeed. Go Noles.
Here with Travis Johnson, Florida State great defensive lineman, was part of that team that went up to Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana, in 2003 and laid a beatdown on the Fighting Irish. Travis, I want to talk to you about that game and just kind of your memories of going out there. Had you been to that campus before, and what were your recollections of? I know you guys are business-minded when you go on those trips, but did you get to see much of the campus and touchdown Jesus and all that stuff?
Well, I took an unofficial visit there when I was still in high school. You know what I mean? Drove through campus. You know, I think some of y'all can remember, I went to Notre Dame High School. So you kind of abreast on the traditions of what goes on in South Bend, touchdown Jesus, the Golden Domers, and everything that goes on, over there. But, that was the first time really, being on the field. And it was a great time. Never forget when we came in. That part of the country is probably one of the most beautiful parts of the country, especially when like the fall hits and all the leaves, all the leaves are starting to turn, and it's just a great atmosphere. It's great weather to play football in.
Yeah, it really was that time. I remember walking around on the quad. Like all the leaves had fallen and changed colors. It was beautiful. It doesn't sound like it's going to be like that this weekend. It's going to be much colder, and I think there's a chance of snow. But it was great football weather. It was really a perfect day for everybody except the Notre Dame team. The year before, they came down and got that win in Tallahassee. It was the year where they were getting all those crazy wins, and you guys turned the ball over a lot and lost that game at home. Going into that game, I can't imagine anybody expected to do what you guys did. Not only everybody talks about Crefonzo Thorpe and his big game and Chris Ricks throwing the ball, but the defense getting the shutout. Did you guys go into that game?
The first shutout at Notre Dame was like 1960-something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was a crazy number. Yeah, I mean, I think we took pride in the year before. The offense put us in a bad spot the year before. Offense put us in a bad spot. Turnovers. Yeah, we gave up a touchdown first play of the game, I think, but for the most part, we played a pretty solid game. So when it came down to it, and we finally at the end of the game, when they put Adrian McPherson in the year before, we knew we were a better team than them guys. Mm-hmm. So I think we went up there. We wanted to prove a point. We wanted to set the tone. Coach Bowden, we wanted to hit them hard. We were underdogs. That was the crazy part. They had us. I think we were 8-point underdogs in Vegas. So it ended up being a solid game. So it was a great experience. But I think it was one of the things where we wanted to let everybody know we were one of the more dominant defenses in the country, the more dominant teams in the country, and we're going to come to your house and it's going to be a 5-star matchup because we in it. People coming to your stadium to watch us, not to watch you guys.
man, you brought up the sod game, and that's one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about. So after that game, I just remember B.J.
Pure
Ward.
chaos.
B.J. Ward had the biggest clump of sod. I don't know how big a piece you got, but B.J. Ward had this clump of sod. I swear it must have been like a half an acre. And you guys were all –
Yeah, it was.
you taking up all that grass, and the security guards and troopers were all freaking out. Just take everybody back through that scene.
Oh, man, that was an eventful time because, like you said, BJ takes the sod, and he had to have like a whole entire square foot of sod. Like he literally had like a pallet in his hand. And, the funny part is, see, a lot of people don't realize going into this game, so Notre Dame is a place where normally the grass is cut, real manicured, real low. It's going to be one of the most beautiful places. The Bermuda turf is going to be phenomenal. In the winter, they put the winter ride down. It's going to be green, 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 green. Well, because we were such a fast defense and such a fast offense, they grew the grass to like 3 inches, 4 inches of grass. So like literally the bottom part of our cleats would disappear in this grass. They thought they could slow us down, but grass don't slow down speed at all. So it didn't matter what we played on that day. We will kick them in the teeth. So BJ kicks up this big, huge pile of sod and carries it down the tunnel. We carried it back in the locker room, and the troopers are going bananas. So BJ, when we walk in the locker room, BJ hands the sod to Coach Bowden. Well, the troopers don't realize that it's Coach Bowden. They reaching over the top of Coach, almost like roughing Coach Bowden up. Well, all of a sudden, a fight breaks out in the locker room with the players, the troopers, and we feeding the troopers. I mean, they don't even realize. And then when they realize Coach Bowden, like, hold on, man. They don't know. They didn't know. No. Because like I was like, dude, you can't just rubble dome man like that in front of us. I think it's gonna slide. So it just was. It was a eventful day getting that sod into that locker room.
That team, you guys had some ups and downs, but I mean that day had to have been as fun a day as you've had as a Florida State player, right? I mean, because of where it was.
Question. I mean, when you look at, Pig got an interception on a tip play.
Didn't Rufus run, or didn't Leroy didn't Leroy run one back?
Leroy ran an interception back to the crib. B-Mac knocked one of their players out. Knocked them unconscious. I think Stafford Samuels had a pick, knocked the guy unconscious. Boosie was out there with a neck roll on. But I'll never forget. Did Boosie get an interception that game?
I can't remember.
Towards the end, somebody got a pick at the end of the game. I think it was Boosie got a pick at the end of the game. And B-Mac caught a guy chasing after Boosie, and I'm talking about slapping something beautiful. These are two prominent supposed to get off the field. It was Pig got an interception. That was a game where Lorenzo looked like he was playing a video game. They have a play where Lorenzo runs. I think he runs like it wasn't a screen, it wasn't a shoot screen, but it's more like a power. He runs up the field. He literally puts his feet in full reverse, backs up, jukes the guy, jukes another guy, and then gets a 15-yard gain on something that should have been a tackle for loss or at the most a 2-yard gain. It was a beautiful game. I think everybody played their best. Probably the best you saw Chris Ricks play in the entire 5 years we were in school was in that game up there in all white. You saw Carfonzo, take his draft stock to another level. You saw PK play good ball that day. It was just all around. And then Willie Reed played phenomenal that game as well. It was a great game.
Yeah, to clarify for younger listeners, Pig is Jeff Womble, who is like a
Pig is Jeff Womble. Yes.
How much did Jeff
Womble had an interception that game?
How much did Pig weigh? 340?
No, Pig was never that big. See, a lot of people. Pig was more like 305, but you got to remember.
He looked big.
Back then, Odell didn't want us nowhere near 300. We always, son, gotta be 280. You gotta be 270. We all were 280 to 275, and then we had Pig at 305, and it just pissed Odell off every single day. You know what I mean? So that was, but now, it's funny, we laugh now, because Big Marvin is what, 330? Mm-hmm. A big 9'1", he got to be a biscuit shy 400. You know what I mean? And you look like, damn, like you would have killed us back in the day if we was ever this big. but the game is changing, and so Odell is changing. So it's a beautiful thing to see, to be honest with you.
Well, let me fast forward a little bit with this team and catch up where we are right now. And obviously nobody's happy. You guys, the guys that played here, are less happy than anybody. But what do you see? I mean, you mentioned Robert Cooper. Robert Cooper is a guy you've been watching at Florida State camp since he was in. I remember asking you about you were at a camp 3 or 4 years ago, and I asked, can that kid really play at that size? And you were like,
yeah,
man, you have no idea.
Yeah, he's like a big dancing bear, man. Robert Cooper and True Thompson. I hope we sign True when it comes time. But Robert Cooper and True Thompson probably was the biggest little jits when they were. I think Rob was like a 9th grader. Coop was like an 8th grader at the time when they first came to camp, and those guys really set the tone and realized that size wasn't. I mean, I was very impressed. I mean, I think at the time Robert was literally. I mean, I was joking a minute ago about being a biscuit shot 400. But I think at the time, he literally was a biscuit shot 400, if not 400 pounds at the time. And I remember Odell laid down the challenge to him and was like, listen, I'm going to offer you a scholarship, but if you're not 350 or 365, by the time your senior year comes around, I'm not going to give you the scholarship because I'm not going to allow you to play for me being that big. And I think the young man took it as a challenge, and you see it in his play. I mean, he's Vince Wilfork all over again. He's a young Vince. To where he's going to be able to be a guy who moves well, but he's a true 2-gap nose. He can play 1 gap, and he's going to be good at 1 gap. But what's going to make him a rich man is being a 2-gap nose in his league and play 15, 20 years.
Well, and then you look at obviously Marvin Wilson, and then Corey.
And
Durden,
then Marvin is special. I mean, Marvin is. What's funny is Marvin is Clifton Dixon with a better character. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I know for a lot of young listeners don't know who Clifton Dixon is. I mean, Cliff was probably the best defensive lineman nobody's ever heard of that played at Florida State.
He was a bad man.
He was a guy who was 6'6", 330 pounds, could do backflips, very explosive. Play can 1 gap for you with like the best of them and penetrate. Can 2 gap if you need him to. Strong as an ox. Can run like a deer. That's how I see Marvin. And I think Marvin is going to be a guy who, I mean, we're only going to be able to keep Marvin 1 more year. There's no way Marvin comes back to school as a senior because the way what he is, what he brings to the team, and what he can do. I think he'll be even better pro than he is a college player.
So all that in consideration, you look at Jaden Woodby and some of these other guys. Are you hopeful that maybe next year that this team is closer to what you guys expect? I mean, do you see the potential in terms of the personnel?
On defense, yeah, I see the potential. I think on offense, I got a few more questions. But that's here nor there. I think I got a lot of questions on offense. Starting with the offensive line and wondering, are they getting better? What can they do to get better? What can we do to help them get better? I think that's one of the things where, I think a lot of us veteran players who played in the league, played on Sunday, would love to come back and help and say, we don't want no money from you. We don't want any of that. We just want to see how can we help you. How can we help Willie? How can we help you to be successful? What can we do to help these guys? Can we help to adjust their learning curve? On defense, I see it. I see what Harlan has done with his defense, and I see they need a little bit more work on a few things. Technique aspect, a football IQ aspect. I think when you talk about I think the DBs probably need to learn a little better route combinations so they understand what's going on in front of them. They're not just playing a defense. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Teach them the game as a whole. I think that's where you look at some of the older guys that played and says, that's where we can help. It's saying, I'll be happy to come back in the spring. I'll be happy to come back in the summertime. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. Like, dude, whatever we need to do to get this turned around, we will do it. You know what I'm saying? Because we bleed garden and gold. We put bricks on that building that sits right there as the largest brick building in the United States. We put bricks on this building. We want to see us be successful. Man, do I see the personnel? Yes. Do I see the football players? Yes. But do I see the 1-2? Do I see the effort? Do I see the finish? Do I see the technique? Do I see the know-how? Not necessarily. But do I see them trying? Yes. But I think it's trying to get them over the hump so we can make plays, so you can be in position to make plays. You know what I'm saying? So you can not only just know what you're doing, but know how to do it. I always used to have a saying, who to get and how to get them. You got to teach them both things.
Perfect, man. Well, if people aren't motivated when they hear you talk, man, they don't have a pulse. So I enjoy So I know everybody that's listening to this wants you to come back in the spring and help these guys. And I know there's a lot of other BMAC and all those guys who would like to come back as well. So hopefully that all works out.
Oh, no question. I mean, we talk about it all the time. You know, I've been back now 5 springs in a row. You know, I've been back 4 out of the last 5 training camps in a row. You know what I mean? Because I love my school. And I know Odell leans on me to say, be another set of eyes for me. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you would do. You know, Odell calls me and asks me questions of, son, what did you see this weekend? What did you see with my group? You know what I'm saying? And I don't talk about no other positions. We talk strictly about D-line play. And saying, okay, this is what I saw. You know, I even jot down the plays or the time where it happened. Second quarter, 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Odell, Marvin did this, that, and the third. Coop did this, that, and the third. What was the play call? And tell me what you was looking for. Because I'll tell you what I saw. But, you know, and I think that's the feedback of love. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, all I want is for us to be successful. You know what I mean? I know Odell, all he wants for his group to be successful and his team to be successful. You know, so I think that's a beautiful thing. When you can always, you know, and Odell's always been that way, puts his pride aside. Because a lot of folks at other schools, a lot of folks in around the league, period, they don't want to hear from guys who played the game because they're afraid to take away from the kids. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're afraid the kids are going to be influenced by what this guy says in a bad way, like, oh, well, if he tells them this, then he won't listen to me. But, you know, my thing is, my relationship with Dale is so great is because I know what Odell's trying to teach. You see what I'm saying? So I know what he's trying to teach. I know what he's trying to get across. So it's a lot easier for us to communicate. It's a lot easier for me when I come in the building to be a voice that he listens to. Because now, when I talk technique, I might get a little deeper into it sometimes because of my passion and because of my knowledge of the game. But I'm also reiterating everything he said. And I'm telling him exactly how he's coached it because he's coached me that way. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of our relationship, me and Odell's relationship.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, I appreciate it.